Our sign language interpreter tonight is Wilson Ochuka. President William Ruto is asking Gen Z protesters not to burn their country in what appeared to be a departure from his usually abrasive style. The president seemingly implored protesters to become part of the solution, saying they were sending the country down a dangerous...
Across the vast landscapes of Africa, from its sun-drenched deserts to its bustling cities, a quiet shift is taking place. It doesn't make the headlines every day, but it can be felt in the conversations between neighbors, in the cautious hope of parents watching their children grow, and in the thoughtful decisions of young people wondering if their future might, after all, lie at home. In the heart of West Africa, in a country once overlooked in global discussions, this shift is gaining momentum. Burkina Faso, a landlocked nation long defined by narratives of poverty and insecurity, is becoming the stage for a different kind of story, one centered not on crisis but on courage and national direction. At the center of this story is a young soldier turned head of state, Captain Ibrahim Traoré. Just a few years ago, few beyond Burkina Faso had heard his name. He wasn't a prominent politician or a seasoned diplomat. He was simply a soldier, one who had risen through the ranks in a time of national uncertainty. His emergence as a national leader in 2022 came at a moment of deep crisis. The country was struggling with terrorism, social instability, and a sense of disillusionment with leadership. And yet, out of that turbulence, a new chapter began. Many observers, both within and outside the country, wondered what kind of leader Traoré would become. He was young, with no long political resume. Some questioned whether he had the experience or support needed to navigate the immense challenges ahead. But over time, a picture began to form, one of a leader committed to steering his country in a direction that prioritizes self-reliance, dignity, and opportunity. One of the most notable decisions made under Traoré's leadership has been the reassessment of Burkina Faso's natural resource policies. For decades, the country's vast gold reserves have been a source of wealth for companies operating internationally, but not always for the people living on the land. Under Traoré, efforts have been made to ensure that a greater share of this wealth remains within the country. Parts of the mining sector have been brought under national oversight with the intention that revenues be invested in local development. The results have been noticeable. In the span of just 1 year, national gold revenues reportedly increased significantly. These funds have helped build new schools, pave rural roads, and support domestic industries. Projects once considered out of reach due to financial constraints are slowly becoming realities. Of course, such changes come with complexities. Adjusting national resource strategies involves negotiation, restructuring, and at times, a difficult balancing act between local expectations and international partnerships. Yet, what is clear is that there is a renewed focus on the potential of Burkina Faso to shape its own path, and on the talent and resilience of its citizens. One symbolic example of this has been the rise of local manufacturing. Engineers and artisans are now building electric buses using local materials and expertise. In a country that once relied heavily on imports for technology, this is more than a technical achievement. It's a moment of pride. For many, it signals the possibility of a future in which Burkina Faso not only consumes, but creates. And among the younger generation, attitudes are beginning to shift. Where once the dream may have been to leave for opportunities abroad, many young Burkinabé are now considering staying. They see the efforts being made to improve infrastructure, to support local innovation, and to make education and employment more accessible. The hope remains cautious, but it is growing. Beyond Burkina Faso, other African nations are experiencing their own transformations, though in very different ways. In Kenya, a country thousands of kilometers away, the past year has been marked by a wave of peaceful protests, largely driven by young people expressing concerns over rising costs of living, taxation, and access to opportunities. These demonstrations have taken place in towns and cities across the country. The motivations are diverse, but many are rooted in economic hardship and a call for more inclusive governance. What has stood out in recent weeks, however, is not just the number of people participating, but the voices coming from unexpected places, specifically within the police force. In a widely shared video, a Kenyan police officer spoke openly about the moral dilemmas faced by law enforcement during protests. Rather than responding with hostility, his words conveyed vulnerability, fear, and an appeal for understanding. He acknowledged the complex role of officers who are often caught between following orders and protecting the citizens they are sworn to serve. His statement sparked important conversations about the responsibilities of state institutions and the importance of ethical leadership at every level. It also raised a broader question. How can law enforcement and citizens work together to foster a more respectful and peaceful relationship, especially in moments of political tension? This moment of reflection in Kenya mirrors broader conversations taking place across the continent. From government offices to university campuses, people are rethinking what leadership should look like. They are asking whether political systems are truly serving the public, and what it means to build societies where transparency, justice, and opportunity are accessible to all. As different as Burkina Faso and Kenya are in terms of context and challenges, there is a common thread: the desire for change rooted in respect, dignity, and fairness. Across the continent, young Africans are stepping forward, not always with protest signs, but with ideas, initiatives, and questions. They are engaging in civic education, learning how budgets are made, understanding how international agreements affect local economies, and looking for ways to contribute to public life. This doesn't mean the road ahead will be without obstacles. Transformational change, especially when it challenges entrenched systems, often meets resistance. In some cases, emerging movements may face misinformation campaigns or attempts to silence them. There may be setbacks and moments of discouragement. But what is clear is that there is a growing awareness across Africa. An awareness that change doesn't have to come solely from the top, nor does it have to be driven by external actors. Communities are recognizing their capacity to influence the direction of their nations through dialogue, innovation, and perseverance. In Burkina Faso, this awareness is visible in the way communities are responding to local development efforts. In Kenya, it's found in the growing conversation about accountability and civic responsibility. And in many other parts of the continent, similar stories are unfolding, quietly, persistently. As this new chapter takes shape, it's important to recognize the diverse paths each country is taking. Each one is navigating its own political, cultural, and economic realities. There is no one-size-fits-all approach. But by sharing experiences, learning from both successes and missteps, and encouraging open conversation, a broader picture of African progress begins to emerge. It is a picture not defined by crisis, but by resilience. It does not erase the challenges, but it emphasizes the potential that exists when communities are empowered to lead, innovate, and decide. And while external perceptions may still lag behind within the continent, the narrative is shifting. Increasingly, people are turning their gaze inward, not out of isolation, but out of recognition that lasting change must be grounded in local knowledge, culture, and priorities. As we look ahead, perhaps the most important takeaway is not about any single leader, protest, or policy. It is about the value of participation, the understanding that every citizen has a role to play, whether in public office, civil society, or local enterprise. And it is about recognizing that leadership is not confined to titles, but is expressed in the everyday choices individuals make to support justice, development, and peace. Burkina Faso's path under Captain Traoré may still be unfolding, and Kenya's civic moment may be evolving in unexpected ways. But both offer valuable reflections on how African nations are grappling with the big questions of our time. Who decides the future? How do we balance tradition and innovation? And how do we ensure that progress includes everyone? These questions may not have immediate answers, but the conversations they inspire are essential, and they are happening now, across the continent, in homes, schools, marketplaces, and parliaments. In the end, the most powerful change may not be in sudden headlines or dramatic events, but in the steady, thoughtful reshaping of public life by the people most affected by it. Africa's future, like its past, will be shaped by its people, each decision, each voice, and each effort contributing to a story that is still being written.